One of the most innovative markets to be watching right now is AI, not just because of the new developments and transition to robotics, but because of the companies that are collecting a lot of data and doing actionable things with that data. So you look at Google. Why did they become so popular? Because Google has a search engine where all of the data people are looking for, they just organize it. Why has OpenAI or ChatGPT become so popular? Because they take all of the data that humans basically have put out on the internet and they make it into a large language model you could talk to. It's basically just compressing all that data and making it easily accessible and usable for you. And the same thing is true for AI companies that are on the front lines right now having the biggest returns. And so today we were trading BigBear.AI stock. They're a company that specializes in data, you could say management, but really where they excel is their computer vision and getting their AI imaging to take pictures and videos of people, and then they have partnerships with the Department of Homeland Security, um, Border and Customs, Border Patrol, and they also at a lot of major airports. We just flew from LA to Denver International Airport, and they were there. So today we were trading them in our market live session in Stockmate this morning at 6:30 a.m. We saw Big Bear AI get off to a good start to $5.05. We waited because we didn't want to, buy something that was just surging at market open. Waited for the sell-off, and the sell-off continued at market open. And about 10, 15 minutes later, we started to see them bounce. We waited for some confirmation that they were then done selling off and starting to continue up, and we then waited for the pullback and ended up buying this morning at about 489 after we locked in some profits from an earlier trade this morning. And then we're in it right now. Nothing crazy. We got about 716 shares in a short-term trade aside from the long-term positions we have, and we've seen them now bounce up to about 496. We're up about $50 profit so far today. So why are we trading them, and what are the things that you need to know about this company? The first thing that you need to know, similar to what we were just talking about with Big Bear or any AI companies that are getting momentum, is they have a lot of data, and they're looking for contracts from TSA that are interested in deploying these very simple systems that can capture large amounts of people entering and exiting out of the airports and into different places, and do it in a way that is super easy for everyone. I don't know if you guys have gone through the airport recently, but sometimes it can be pretty manual. People are scanning you, they're asking for your card for your passport. It's getting better, but they're looking to reduce reliance on manual labor even more and have AI driven threat detection. This is a .gov article here that could potentially be about a $5.4 billion valuation. Now, when it comes to Big Bear, they haven't seen the revenue kick in, but they've seen the partnerships kick in and the infrastructure kick in. So last quarter did not look good. That's why they've really sold off. They had some negative net income, but the balance sheet increased, and now they're starting to get this momentum here. And kind of similar to, how this morning we didn't end up leaving from Northern California or from Southern California down in LA where we are. We're visiting some family, and we're at an Airbnb, and then we also used it as a place where we went to some conferences and flew to other places. But now we're here, and we were going to go drive to Northern California today back home. And we said, well, all the traffic is getting really heavy. It's probably not the best time to drive unless we leave early. So let's leave tomorrow morning really early, as opposed to leaving once all the traffic hits. And the same thing happens in the morning or in investing, right? We wait for the traffic, but we want to get there before the traffic. We want to get there, we want to go before everybody's going. We want to, get out before everybody's getting out. And same thing is true here. We were watching this morning on Big Bear, and we see, everybody seemed to be getting out after the recent earnings. We saw them sell down, got back down to this 467 price point, which over the last year, we're still up on our long-term positions from 280. But if you are watching it, you're saying, oh, I've seen them go from $1 a share in November up to $10 a share. And then we see them sell back down to this 250, get back up to $8 a share by summer. So that was January or February. They were up to $10, sold down with the greater market. Then in the summer, they were up to $8. Now we see them get back down to this support level where they bounced previously here on their earnings. So they sold down to this previous level. We've been watching them, and we entered a trade this morning down below, and we're looking for that recovery. Now, the current trade that we're looking at is a recovery. The levels are looking to $5 a share as the next resistance level that we'll be looking. We just entered at 488, so we're looking for about a 3 to 4% increase up into these levels. But really what we're looking at is the reversal. We got this 3 stages to a reversal. Same thing is true when you see, let's say you are going on a trip and you want to, turn around. You don't just whip a Yui in the freeway, right? You don't just, no, you don't do that unless you're like, what's that guy, Dukes of Hazzard or whatever, or maybe Fast and Furious. You're going to, rather than just do a J turn, you're going to get off on an exit, and then you're going to go across, and you're going to go off back the opposite direction. And the same is true with trends, in the markets. And I feel like we're using some good metaphors here for the market. But basically, you had the downtrend after the recovery from earnings. So from August, Big Bear has been selling down, selling down, selling down. They've had fundamentals start to heat up with the World Cup coming up, along with the Olympics, where their CEO, who was previously U.S. Department of Homeland Security acting secretary and U.S. Customs, it would make sense that they are able to capitalize on some of that movement with the World Cup, given that they're working on airport entry and exit technology that would be of interest for some of the government to be able to capitalize on all of the big movement that's coming into the U.S. as ahead of those large events. And so with Big Bear, they've had some articles where they've said, we're really looking forward to the FIFA World Cup and the Olympics. So that was really a month ago. And it actually, while they didn't see any direct contracts yet, it was actually a really smart article on LinkedIn that we had drop, had some members in StockMate, which we have a lot of great members in StockMate that have dropped some really good insights on these companies. And I just want to take a moment for Lawrence. Lawrence releases really great press releases almost every day in StockMate. Really, really good press releases. And he also had something, he came out today talking about FOMO, and how he was able to, he missed out on 2,500% here when OCTO went up from $3.60 to $5. Hey, that's still a great profit, Lawrence. But again, we were watching it this morning. We actually were looking at the stock this morning. It went up to $38 from $3 a share, or $57 now. Oh my gosh. So, sometimes you miss them, but hey, he was able to almost double his money regardless. That's okay, Lawrence. Not a bad play. So we just came out with the earnings for this week. And one of the things that we were focused on was market direction. And so again, when you're getting off on the freeway, you have 3 stages to reversal. You have the direction that's going, so this trend. Then you have the exit. You have the going across the freeway. This is the consolidation from left to right. And that's what we've seen with Big Bear. And so now what we're looking for when we bought the dip today is to break out of this consolidation. So we had this distribution phase here where they were just selling off, saw the distribution of sells. Then we see this potentially what could be manipulation, but really we're seeing consolidation ahead of what could be this accumulation phase, so buying phase. Now the buying phase, we're looking at a 10 to 20% margin here from entry. So up in this 530 to $6 a share, 575 are the levels we're watching. So currently we got to stop around 483 is where we're looking to sell if this doesn't go according to plan. But if it goes according to plan, again, we're looking for somewhere between $500 to $1,000 profit, if not more, if it makes this move up into these levels that we're looking at with Big Bear. So we're looking for a reversal. We're just watching now the exit. We get off on the exit. You still got an option to go back and continue on the freeway down, right? If you could look at it that way. Um, but once you see them get off the exit and you know which way they're going, get ready because it's going to go fast, whether that's up or down. They're getting back on the freeway at some point. It's just been consolidating here. So we're going to watch Big Bear in those instances and see if we can get that movement up there. I used to really struggle when I was first investing back in 2014 or earlier, but really not like looking at the markets at market open until probably around 2016, 2017. And at that time, one of the things I used to struggle with is when the market would open and you see a sell off, and this is in the shorter term trading, not identifying the markets, the real world usage. Like I was saying with this company, we just saw them in person, they scanned our face. Like those are things we look at. We look at the financials for sure. We look at the institutional ownership, which we did see more accumulation on the institutional ownership after their recent earnings when they sold off. But what we're really focused on is in the morning. I used to struggle with this sell off in the morning that always happens, or a big spike, which we saw at market open. I would try and buy and catch the move from the big dip going up. Now that's something that's really risky. Really, where the key is when looking to trade market open swings is not going to be playing the big move. Maybe you catch the big move, but it's higher risk to try and buy and just see that big recovery right away. What we look for is that downtrend. You can see the moving averages and where it's at. It's selling below and holding below the EMA. We look for that exit, right? The overpass of the freeway, and then the validation that it is going to go in the opposite direction. And so what that looked like here this morning was we had this trend. It was going down. It was going down. Right? It's getting rejected at market open this morning, just a few minutes ago. We wrapped up our session. If you guys ever want to tune in live, it's the second link in the description. And so every morning we're there, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. So you got to get up early. But anyway, we're there. We're watching it. 10 minutes in, we see it start to recover. Now we could have bought and said, let's see this big move. But instead, we waited for this recovery. So then we saw this recovery where it started to break out. And then we waited. We didn't just buy once we saw, oh, it's recovering, because what happens? A lot of times it's going to correct down to where you would set your stop loss as an amateur first before it continues the move. So we looked for then what was this sell down here, okay, and a validation of the trend selling down, okay, consolidating and starting to build momentum. And then we bought in after we saw, okay, it's finding support, looks like momentum's changing. Then we ended up buying here down around 489. And now we've seen it start to trend upwards throughout the day up to this 495 price point. And that's where we're looking for that $5.05 or really about $5.50 resistance next. So that was the move this morning. That's how we took advantage of it. Why we do that in the morning is simply because that's when the biggest moves happen. It's easy to get caught though and buy the dip here and then watch it continue down. We like to wait a lot longer than most people will wait so that we can really determine the way that the market's going in the morning. Another thing to note is Thursday, we had lower highs than what we hit on Friday. Friday, we saw higher highs in a lot of the market as opposed to Thursday. And so that was indicating that towards the end of last week, we're starting to see an uptrend. And when that happens, usually market direction going into the next week, we're going to see some green. That's what we see so far. CTM stock was up 5%. They're another defense company. Serve Robotics, which we ordered some food around here. You could do that in LA where they send a robot to your house. You don't have to tip, but they'll deliver your food. Pretty cool. And it has like an AI, like locks the food in the robot from the restaurant. The restaurant goes to, or the robot goes to the restaurant, locks the food, and then it drives to your house. And then you do a facial scan or maybe you enter a code on your phone and it opens up. You can grab your food and then it goes and does whatever next delivery it has to do. that type of stuff is really cool. So we were trading Serve last week. And then we see some momentum in AI for the most part this week. Things looking pretty green. So this is the trade we're in with BBAI, Big Bear. We're going to be watching it throughout the week. And one thing to note, aside from the very scan tech we saw in the airports, we know they're in LAX and JFK or Denver, but they also are working in the Panama Canal, which is really a point of power for AI companies to be developing right now, because they're doing this technology where it can scan all of the different boats and cargo that come in and out of the ports. Okay. So they have something that is called, I think it's under their computer vision potentially. Is that it? It's called ARCAs, and they have satellite as well as aerial cameras that are able to spot, cargo, that can see different ships, where they're coming from, where they're going, identify them in the harbors. And it's been a point of interest for the US. US was losing some control in the Panama Canal from a trade perspective to China. Then BlackRock came in, helped them facilitate a deal, and BlackRock ended up buying up most of the ports there in Panama. China really upset about that. But what happened was now the U.S. is putting some attention on it, and Big Bear is creating partnerships here with Narval Holding Corporation for AI-powered cargo security management solutions in Panama to counter illicit trafficking. Initiative will begin in Panama with planned expansion across the region and worldwide in key international corridors. Maybe they make their way into Suez Canal or something like that. That would be really interesting. But essentially, AI-driven solution to strengthen cargo security. Big Bear's there, and they're working with top players. And the U.S. is looking for more control there, so Big Bear potentially, speculation, right? They could get some more contracts from the government as a result. A lot of times, what attracts the government is going to be things like data, which we see them grab with the VeriScan, with the scanning millions of people's faces. And in this case would be ARCAs with the, knowing really what's going on in the Panama Canal, probably going to be something of interest for the U.S. Government as well, if they're able to find the right connections and get in with things. So that's the other thing. They had a partnership with the Washington Commanders, which is interesting. Washington, D.C., and they're partnered with an NFL team, featured across fifth floor suite level, Northwest Stadium, at suites, entrances, stadiums, on teams' practice jerseys, all that, which I thought was interesting, because maybe, this is where all the Congress people are going, right? They're going to the Washington Redskins or Washington Commanders game there in Washington, D.C. So, hey, maybe that helps with some of their business development as well. It's actually not a bad play. If they were going to do it with any team, partnering with them, probably one of the best teams to partner with, if they're going to go that route at all. And you can see they're working on helping them with things like potentially facial recognition, but mostly from a partnership perspective. And maybe it could help them get some more eyeballs from people in the area, something like that. So we're going to watch them today. We have seen them bounce that support. We bought a dip this morning after that confirmation. They have sold down a little bit since the video. We're still up, $34. Hasn't moved much. But if it goes according to plan, we're looking for 300 to 1,000 bucks. And comment, let me know what you guys are watching. Are you looking at Big Bear? Are you looking at other AI companies? Because we are covering quite a few. So make sure to comment it down below. And again, if you'd like to tune into our live sessions tomorrow morning at Market Open, you do have to get up early. But sometimes, I was just talking with my wife. It's like the things when we get the most momentum, we're like, oh, I don't want to get up or whatever. Those things that get us up in the morning, sometimes early, actually end up being the thing that give us the most momentum in our business, in our investing, or in our life. So if you want to get up early, we're there every morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, right at Market Open, so a little later on the East Coast. But if you want to tune in, see how we trade, invest every morning at Market Open, it's the second link in the description down below. Hopefully I earned your thumbs up, so do hit that like button if you enjoyed. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.